I've always been a kind of knight in my RPGs. I like sword and board. That's how I play. Unfortunately, in Elden Ring there are not so many weapons that will allow you to be such a thing. There are many overpowered weapons, very powerful weapons, but unfortunately in this game, other than the Sword of Night and Flame, there really is not that much variety of weapons that will allow you to stand your ground that much when it comes to just being a knight on itself. And the Sword of Night and Flame, it's basically for casters, so if I just want to be that basic knight, Dark Souls style, basic damage, basic stats, just a sword and shield and be efficient, this weapon is going to allow you to do so. It's not going to be the most broken weapon in the game, it's not going to be the most powerful thing that you will ever encounter, but it is a weapon that will allow you to efficiently go through the entirety of the game and also through some of the New Game Pluses. As a matter of fact, a lot of this gameplay is from New Game Plus 7. And yeah, I mean, it's usable, it's amazing, I like it, it's a sword and board. And also, Straightswords have been buffed, sky buffed. So what is up, you damn gorgeous and beautiful gamers? Welcome back to the role-playing games. This is Mariel Connor in the internet, where I like to discuss about RPGs, like the content, like everybody is super appreciated. No one's told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. So let's talk about the buffs first. The very first thing that they did is that they buffed running attacks. So running attacks, they are faster. That's also true for the heavy attack. The other thing that they buffed about straight swords is the speed of the first attack, so you're likely not going to get interrupted if you're trying to trade with someone. The other thing that they buffed for straight swords is the guard counter. This guard counter, when somebody hits your shield and then you immediately hit the heavy attack, that has been buffed as well, the speed of it. I usually didn't use it that much back in the day because it was just too much of an issue and sometimes you would just get interrupted because of how long it would take. Now it's a tool that you can most definitely use and that is going to make this weapon amazing. Now let's talk about the weapon. This is one of the most versatile weapons that I have ever seen in the game. This weapon is just going to allow you to do so much stuff. First and foremost, it's a one-handed weapon. Secondly, it's a two-handed sword. So the Ornamental Straightsword has the capacity to be dual-wielded by just having one instance of the weapon. Now the amazing thing is that another thing that has been buffed about this weapon, this wasn't a previous patch, it wasn't 109, but this wasn't really that usable before, because the spell duration for this thing, it would disappear immediately. There was just not time enough for you to be able to make this as efficient as it could be. It has been buffed now, it's most definitely usable, you can use it now, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And as a matter of fact, the amazing thing about this thing is that it changes your heavy attacks for this thing that you can spam. You have to be careful by using this thing, because to make this weapon perfect, I just wish that From Software would give more poise to this animation, because right now it doesn't have that much poise, and if you try to use this thing against some of the heavier enemies, they are going to get to interrupt you, and it doesn't really have that much hyper armor during the animation, so little tweaks here and there could most definitely help the weapon shine a little bit more. But the amazing thing about it is that it also changes the heavy attack for this heavy, very damaging, high poise damaging, and very damaging dual slice, that it's a heavy attack that you can most definitely spam, and it's beautiful, and it's going to be amazing. One amazing thing about this weapon is that you can charge 3 instances of this attack. So basically, you buff your weapon and then you use your heavy attack to either do this, you can charge it a little bit, it's going to cause like 4 punctures and then heavy, but you can charge it all the way and it's going to deal more punctures to finish up with a heavy. One amazing thing is that you can use this thing from behind a shield. So basically, when you have your shield and you're covering up and then you counter enemies, you will see gameplay footage in the background of me doing this. It's amazing. You can counter and then immediately turn into this. and it's going to deal tremendous amounts of damage, and it's also going to deal tremendous amounts of posture damage in a very fast succession. By having your shield right here, it's also going to allow you to charge this bad boy up. So again, it's not the most powerful weapon in the game, but it's one of the most versatile weapons in the entire game that is going to allow you to do so many things. You are going to be able to do so many things with this weapon, and that is the beauty, the beautiful part about this weapon, is that you can do so much with just this one weapon. There's so many playstyles, so many things that you can do by just having one weapon that is not going to cause you that much room in your inventory. Now, let's talk about the stats. What I love about this weapon is that it has a basic scaling on dexterity. And since it has a basic scaling on dexterity, the weapon doesn't weigh that much. We are not going to have to waste that many points into different places. So this is not going to be a stat hungry build. You are going to be able to build this thing easily, no problema, compadre, right? Also, people usually tells me in my builds, when I make my builds, hey, can you give me the stats for 120? Can you give me the stats for 75? So, there you have it. It's a little bit more thoughts, a little bit more extra work, but there you have it. I'll try to make my future builds like this. So there you have the 75 version of the build, the 120 version of the build, the 150 version of the build. The final build, it's just as strong as you are going to get it. You can go higher than that, but you're not really going to benefit that much from doing so. And also, as a matter of fact, this just has a strength descaling, so you're not going to be incrementing your damage that much by placing points into strength. One amazing thing about this weapon, I forgot to mention the class, recommended class for this thing, it's Warrior. Warrior starts with amazing dexterity, and also it's going to start with 10 strength, which is, thankfully enough, beautifully enough, gorgeously enough, the necessity that you have for the weapon to wield it on strength. The weapon requires 10 strength. That means that the warrior is just perfect for this weapon. So as you can see, the 150 version has the soft cap for health. We are going to have 60 health on our character. We are most definitely going to have 60 vigor. And then as for mines, we are not going to be using that much mines. We just have that in there for us to be able to cast as many of the skill as possible. That means that we are always going to have our weapon buffed at all times by golden tempering, right? So that is why we have it in there. The endurance, that is interesting. You will notice that we have way too much endurance. And the reason for that being is that because we do not have anywhere else to place our points. The amazing thing about it is that you're going to be able to spam attacks more often. You are going to be able to wear the armor that you would like to wear. You will not have to worry about heavy, light, medium armor. You are going to be able to use basically whatever that you want to use. If you have that, this weapon, it's really not that heavy. So if you want to have high poise, you can most definitely use heavy armor. Want to use medium armor for the looks, most definitely use medium armor. It is a very versatile build that is going to allow you to do so many things. So there is indeed that. And then finally, our final goal will be to reach Dexterity 70. Now, why do we want to have our Dexterity in 70 and not in 80, which is the soft cap of the game? Basically, because we have the extra spare points, but now we are on the equipment section of the build. And let's begin with talismans. There are not so many talismans that you are going to be able to use with this build. You're mostly going to be using the prosthesis wear heirloom, which is going to give you 5 dexterity. You're also going to be using Millicent's prosthesis, which you are going to benefit. Remember, when we do our golden tempering and we are able to pull off the many attacks of the weapon, do have in mind you have to be very careful by using the golden tempering skill, because it leaves you open. It doesn't really deal that much posture damage, poise damage, so you are going to be using it on certain situations. But in those situations that you are going to be most definitely using it, you are going to get the damage bonus from Millicent's prosthesis. So those are the two mandatory talismans that we are going to be using. Some talismans that you might think that will affect the weapon. The Twin Blades talisman, I do not know if it's a buff, but I'm sorry, the Axe talisman, I do not know if it's a bug, but it doesn't affect the heavy charge attacks for this weapon when you do Golden Temper. Perhaps it has something to do with the Golden Tempering. Some people would also be willing to use the Godfrey icon. And the Godfrey icon, what it does is that it enhances damage for spells and charge skills. The thing is that when we do our Golden Tempering charging, it's a heavy attack. It's not the Ash of War, so no, it doesn't affect it either. Also, for Shard of Alexander, again, Golden Tempering is the weapon skill, the weapon art, right? So you Golden Temper, and that is basically it. So you're not going to get damage from Shard of Alexander. That leaves us with just a couple of options that I would say that Crimson Amber Medallion would be nice for the extra health. Also the Erdtree's Favor, it's always nice to have that extra weight, stamina and health, that is nice as well. And the Green Turtle talismans, those are most definitely talismans that you can use. I would very much love if they, I do not know if it's a bug or why do the Axe talisman or Shadow of Alexander. It's just a weird weapon that it has to go through so many barriers. I did test all of this and no, they do not affect it. And then again, the main weapon that we are going to be using is going to be the Ornamental Straightsword, followed with the Dorito Shield, just because of the looks, aesthetics. As for the armors, remember that you can basically use whatever you would like to use. It doesn't really matter that much. You have enough stamina, enough endurance for you to be able to wear whatever you would like to wear with this build. And then finally, the Flask of Quantum Tears. It's up to your personal preference as well. Bubble tears that prevent damage from you, physical resistance, health recovery, health boost. It's up to you. What I like to use with this thing is Holy Shroud Crack Tear, which enhances the holy damage, which is just basically a little bit more damage. It's not going to be that amazing because that's one of the downsides of the weapon as well. You are only going to get 100 points in damage, I believe, if I am not mistaken. You are only going to get 100 points in holy damage by using your Golden Tempering. So you're not going to get that much out of that Holy Crack Shroud tier, but if you do have in mind that this weapon is going to have fast successions of attacks, then most definitely it's also something nice that it's just extra damage. And then for the Green Burst Crystal tier, I just like to have more stamina. And that is basically the build. It is very beautiful, it is nice. Again, it's going to allow you to Deus Vult on infidels because you are just going to be basically a knight. And being basically a knight, it's something that I would most definitely enjoy instead of just abusing of Ashes of War. Do not get me wrong, I love to abuse Ashes of War, but every so often, every some time and again, I would just like to be a regular knight, and that's it. If you like the content, if you like the video, if you find the video informative, enjoyable, then the like in the video is super appreciated. No one told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Remember to like the video and subscribe before you close the door. And goodbye.